Hello and welcome to the fourth episode of How To. In this episode we will be making a display for Rey and BB-8 Black Series from Hasbro.
Okay, one of the things you're going to want to do when you're making something like this is you take the figure that you're making it for. We're doing Rey and BB-8 from the Black Series 6-inch figures from Hasbro, and set them out the way that you're probably going to want them to be, and then do the measurements afterwards. I have already done this, but it's plain and simple. You will want to have angles, so make sure when you're measuring you do the angles.
The next step is to cut the foam using either a hot knife, a hacksaw, a miter saw, or some form of saw like that. Best one that I have found is a miter saw. Hot knives usually would be better if they were wired. This particular type, it was the first time we've ever used it, and wasn't working as well as I'd hoped. But it worked well enough to do what we needed it to do. Once you have this piece that you want to work with, cut it down further using either the hot knife, the hot wire knife, or the saw. Any of these will work, and break it down into pieces, shape that you want.
Remember, safety first.
Next, you're going to want to use a rotisserie grinder to scrape off the edges where it probably has been burnt by the hot knife. If you've used a saw or maybe a wire, it's probably not going to be that bad. From there, you will want to shape the piece using the rotisserie grinder. It will leave lines and be very rough, but you can sand it out with a normal piece of sanding paper afterwards. When using a rotisserie grinder, you should probably wear some sort of mask to protect your mouth so you don't breathe in any of the dust. Also should wear safety glasses, which I am not in this video because we couldn't find any.
Now that we've sanded it down, it's time to put in the pegs and the spot where BB-8 will sit. First, we want to drill a hole where we want to place the thing. As you can see, I put a blue mark where BB-8's going to be. And I'd already cut a little bit of a hole for the peg that Rey will be standing on. This is just a piece of simple scat from a model. Slide it right into the hole. Make sure it's deep enough. Looks like I might need to cut a little bit off, but that's not hard to do. Just a little bit of wire cutter use, because from what I've found so far, that often works better. And there we go. She will stand perfectly right there. Remember, she's supposed to be on sand dunes, so she's going to be a little lopsided from time to time. She should be able to stand on that, and this is for any figure, without falling over at all, pretty much permanently. Now, glue it in. Once again using white glue, because unlike everybody seems to think, tacky does not always work the best, and honestly, rubber cement of any form is just a pain to work with, especially when you're dealing with small parts. Make sure it's in the right position and let it dry. Now, for BB-8's spot. Because he's a ball, you actually have to have a pretty good size indent. He doesn't have a hole to sit in for a peg to fit into, so you actually have to cut a pretty good sized hole. Just run it around with the razor knife, then use a pick of some form. These are carving picks. I'm not exactly sure what set, and unfortunately the package is covered at the moment. Chip it out. Doesn't matter if it ends up rough or not, because it's probably going to be a bit deeper than you need. This spot will not see any glue at all. Voila! There he is. Now on to dunes. For the dunes, I probably will not be filming all of this at once. I will do one or two pieces and then put it together off camera the rest of the way. Basically what you need to do is make sure that everything is almost perfectly rounded. Things getting dull. Also going to want to make sure that you have a pretty shallow incline, because otherwise it won't look like a dune if it's a complete drop off in the direction of your character that you're doing this for. Of course, sand it. I know that this probably doesn't look like it yet, but when we get into the actual sand covering and a few of the other things that go along with that, it really changes and starts looking very much like sand dunes and whatnot. That might not be shallow enough.
This is a long drawn out process. That's one of the reasons why I probably will do most of the work off camera. Because if, I don't think the camera can see it right now, but all of this will be turned into dunes. That's one of the reasons why you want to keep your little scraps, because you never know when you're going to use them. I don't like that little dip down there at the bottom. But once again, more proof that you need to keep your little pieces. Yeah, that'll work. And that actually kind of looks like it. And the same as always, glue them down. This, you can actually get away with doing a lot more with rubber cement, hot glue, and tacky, because you're actually working in a much larger area, and those are very viable. And yes, I'm using Elmer's. Best glue on the market. You'll also have to hold it down a lot longer on this. That's one of the other reasons why I am not going to do all of this on camera. Otherwise, this video will end up being an hour long, and I have hard enough time getting you guys to watch one that's 30 minutes. Now that you have everything placed, as I have done off camera, of course, it's time to fill in the gaps. Using hot glue, you can easily, I'm really going to need to change that stick, fill in the gaps and give it a little bit more of a wavy look, which is what you're going to want if you're doing sand dunes. Otherwise, you're dealing with rocks and whatnot. Metal is a totally different story all around. Make sure you get the gap really filled in. And as with the cutting and putting this on together, I will finish this off camera and then show you what little bit of the painting, and then we will move on to the back. When you're painting, you will want to use a lighter color, such as khaki in this case, because sand is basically clear, and the color underneath it will show through. Do not use black, do not use brown, unless you want it to be really super dark. That's in sand cases. I have plans to do other displays for this show, showing inside of space stations and whatnot. So there will be other ones that won't even have base parts on it. As for what you're doing with this is just get it all covered. Get the filled in spots. You'll have to do 2 or 3 layers on that. Make sure that every bit of pink is covered. If you have little holes like I do here and there, tap the brush like that to get it down. This entire piece will be covered with this color because I plan to put sand all over everything but the back. I will finish this off camera, and Molly will show you how to put together the back.
in the back. I found a picture I liked, and I have done one side, and now I'm going to show you how to do the other side. And this is the picture for the other side. I have 2 pieces of cardboard that I've cut to the correct height. I am going to glue them together.
I mean, this is unique. This is something we haven't done before. So it's something that I kind of want to have to show. Make sense?
Mm-hmm. Could you hand me my weight? But apparently I can't glue a straight line. So I'm going to have to do a bit of fixing when I glue this on. But first I want to cut off the little bit of excess that I got there. Alright, got that done.
Does it match?
Yeah.
No. Does it match the other part? Yep. It still does well enough. It's not a big deal because it's going to be glued onto the back of it.
Good. Oh, there. You want your pictures to mostly match up.
He's gone against everything that we've been trying to teach him. Everything that he knows is right. This is his way of throwing it back in our face. Making sure that...
And you don't want to go too heavy on the glue on this. You end up with bubbles.
Preferably, we would use glue sticks, but unfortunately, I have no clue where my glue sticks are, and she didn't bring any with her.
That's because I don't have any.
You didn't have to say that part. Now that's got to be edited out on the sound part. If you can't see it, that's because, once again, we're using white glue. Among the best, although I would say, in this case, paste or rubber cement would work just as well. Anything that's paint on.
I'm going to use my ruler to smooth it out as best as I can.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
If you want, I can run it through the sound editor and take care of all of that.
I can get it. And I can't do worse shit today. I think there's that. And then I'm going to come my mistake. Mistakes happen.
Constantly. All over the place. Most of it's non-noticeable.
And I'm going to take this piece that I cut off the other piece of cardboard and we'll glue it on the back part. So then I have a seamless picture.
You might want to take care of the seam that's there first.
Yeah, I gotta fix another. Alright, now that I've gotten that glued on, I'm going to take the piece of cardboard that I've cut off previously and I'm going to use it to join the two pictures together to make one solid back. Oh, more glue.
Once again, easier with glue sticks, which I don't know where mine are. Don't try to use a hot glue gun for this because that just does not work. No. Bring the whole picture up a bit. This one more so.
I have it like that for a reason.
Okay.
Because I put that picture a bit high.
Doesn't matter if there's a little bit of a crease at the bottom, open space at the bottom. Doesn't matter. And let it sit and dry.
Okay. Final step with this piece is to sand it. Now, unlike grass, you need a lot of thick layer of glue, so take the lid off your glue bottle and use either a brush or popsicle stick, tongue depressor in this case, to spread it out. Try to get everything covered. The hole does not get anything in it, but that is only for BB-8 models. Try not to get your peg, if you're using one, covered.
You want to be real thick with the glue, because the sand won't stick very well if you don't. You'll probably have to apply glue multiple times. And in multiple places. Doesn't matter if a little bit gets on the back of the thing. Easily scraped off, and probably going to need it later anyways. Try to get every little hole, every little nook and cranny, and every little piece covered. It just won't look right if you don't. On a piece this large, it's considerably harder to cover the entire thing with sand. But I've done larger pieces than this, so it is far better if you cover the entire piece before you start putting the sand on, because the glue will, well, it just doesn't turn out very well. Let's put it that way. The glue will hold until you're done. You can also use spray glues. I prefer not to, because the spray glues usually harden faster and are a much thinner layer. Keep as much of that off there as possible. I'll need the models, hun. As much as I hate doing what I'm going to have to do. Just need her. You want to go grab one of those meteors out of the bathroom? The glue will run itself just as much as you will be pushing it around if you're holding it at an angle. You may notice that I'm not putting any glue on the front. That's because you gotta have a place to grab onto, and the front is just there. Alright, almost there.
there's that. Can add more as needed. And pour it over the top. Be sure to pour a thick layer so that it'll actually stick. Doesn't matter if it gets in the hole for BB-8. This will be enough glue. Always have something underneath it. There's no reason to waste any form of terrain, including sand. And as always, let it sit for a little bit. Make sure you get everything. There's probably enough glue on here that this entire thing is trying to run off right now, but that's normal. Once the sand is set, you want to make if you're having somebody walk across it, you want to make tracks. I'm using a ball from a toy to make BB-8's one. It will stick out some. Not exactly going to look very good on that, but that's okay. There's a whole roll up there. Okay. Yeah, that might work. And then after that, let it dry and then put the figures on. Okay, to put the back on, we're going to use hot glue. You're going to want it pretty much all over the back of what is going to be covered. This thing's slightly elevated, so it's not going to cover the entire back. Hold that, please. If you're running wet when you're doing this, you're going to have a little sand fall off, but since this piece is a private piece for one of us, it doesn't make much of a difference. Shut up.
I don't want to shut up.
Okay, I got it. Make sure you use enough hot glue, basically cover the back, because you're only going to have one go at this. You can adjust it, but once it's locked into place, it doesn't matter how much, so you want to get the entire thing on all at one time. Probably didn't let the glue heat up enough. That's okay. It's not hardening very fast. And it doesn't take much to melt it back when you're doing it right anyways. This is the main reason to not use hot glue in cases like this. Okay, stick it on. We can adjust it in a minute, just slap it on there. Okay. Pull up as much as needed, and then push on the front. And let's see. It's not holding very well, but that's okay. It's better than having to sit here for 3 hours. Now you can add glue after the fact, it's just you're going to want to have it placed before you stop. See if it'll hold up. It's not going to hold up, but that's okay. Now, just because it didn't hold up at this point doesn't mean it won't work. It will work, it's going to take a bit more work on our part to get this particular piece off. And that's how you make that display. Next episode we will be doing a New York City apartment building, and that will probably be the next 3 or 4 videos.